So, I was just saying that after that last passage, Donald Trump spoke about 1,800 people who were so criminal and so offensive that the bureaucracy ordered them deported, but the Obama administration overruled that and conferred U.S. citizenship upon them. The hatred of Obama for white Americans knows no bounds.
Yeah.
And he said this happened under Obama. He's led a very divided nation. Is Donald Trump trying to say that they are trying to split us up into incompatible races and create chaos and conflict?
Of course.
And create a dysfunctional state, a state that cannot possibly function properly.
Yes.
Trump continues. Nevertheless, I take all these slings and arrows gladly for you. I take them for our movement so that we can have our country back. Our great civilization, here in America and across the civilized world, has come upon a moment of reckoning. We've seen it in the United Kingdom, where they voted to liberate themselves from global government and global trade deals and global immigration deals that have destroyed their sovereignty and have destroyed many of those nations. Now here, remember, the word nation means a group of people tied together by blood, a distinct racial group. Destroyed many of those nations. Look at Sweden. Look at Germany today.
England, Scotland, Wales.
He's saying those nations are destroyed. The states exist as empty husks, as empty shells. The nations have been destroyed. To continue, Donald Trump goes on, but the central base of world political power is right here in America, and it is our corrupt political establishment that is the greatest power behind the efforts at radical globalization and the disenfranchisement of working people. Radical globalization. Opening borders. Multiculturalism. Diversity. Their financial resources, this is Trump continuing, their financial resources are virtually unlimited, their political resources are unlimited, their media resources are unmatched, and most importantly, the depths of their immorality is absolutely unlimited. They will allow radical Islamic terrorists to enter our country by the thousands. They will allow the great Trojan horse. And I do not want people looking back in 100 years and 200 years and let that story be told about us, because we were led by inept, corrupt, and incompetent people like Barack Obama and like Hillary Clinton. We don't want to be part of that history. Now, what he's really said here is quite hidden. There's a second level. He's saying they will allow the great Trojan horse. So it's not like Muslim terrorists or the Muslims coming in are rolling in this Trojan horse.
They don't rule.
He's saying that the globalist masters, the sneak rulers, they have built this Trojan horse and they're rolling it into the United States.
Yeah.
And what is this Trojan horse? It is people that they know will turn terrorist. The sneak rulers want terrorism.
Yeah.
They want terrorism, they want Muslims coming in. Out of 100 Muslims, one will turn terrorist, one will turn disaffected, one will turn fanatic. He will set off a bomb here, he will stab someone there, and the sneak rulers want that. They want that because it gives them the excuse and the lever to declare martial law.
Martial law.
To impose the police state and to snatch away your guns, what's left of them, and then you will see what slavery really looks like.
Yeah.
So Donald Trump actually chose his words very carefully there, or his speechwriters chose their words carefully. He said they, the sneak rulers, they the globalists, they were bringing this Trojan horse into America. That's why they want refugees from the Middle East.
Yeah, of course.
So Trump continues, we are going to have a policy, America first. And there you hear the slogan of every nationalist who has tried to resist the destruction of their countries for the last 60 years.
Yeah, America first.
I remember in Australia, there was a woman, I forget her name now, but she started a party called Australia First.
Yeah.
They destroyed her. And she's back though. She's now older, but she's back trying to defend Australian whites.
Okay.
And for that matter, Australian Aborigines who are being flooded mainly by Asians, by Orientals.
Yeah.
America first, Britain first. This is the slogan of the nationalist.
Yeah.
Put my people first. We are not
Canada
going
first.
in our country, it is our interests that matter. So
Reasonable.
there's Donald Trump saying the same thing. We are going to have a policy, America first. We will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again. We will vote to put this corrupt government cartel, by cartel he includes the banks, the big people like George Soros.
Yeah.
It's not just the government, it's also the people running the government.
Yes.
We will vote to put, that's the importance of the word cartel. We will vote to put this corrupt government cartel out of business, and out of business immediately.
Immediately?
Well, if he's elected.
Yeah.
They've betrayed our workers, they've betrayed our borders, and most of all, they've betrayed our freedoms. We will save our sovereign rights as a nation. They keep telling you that to have a nation is to be racist.
Yeah.
Our Independence Day is at hand. Join me in taking back our country. Now, here's an interesting thing. He says, our Independence Day is at hand. Independence from whom? Well, he said it very clearly. We lost our independence and we've become servants and serfs of the globalists. Now, he hasn't named too many globalists, but he's named a couple. Soros,
Yeah.
Goldman Sachs, the banks. And he hasn't named too many, but it's maybe now is not the time for him to name them. Now, many have written all of this before. Everything Donald Trump said here has been said before.
I've said it before.
And now, when he talked about Brexit, also he connected the struggle of America to the struggle of the rest of the white world.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and Brexit was 90% done because Britons feared this continual invasion and colonization of their country.
It's immigration.
It was the immigration, but we shouldn't use that word immigration. It's not immigration, it's colonization.
Colonization.
It's replacement. It's genocide.
It's white genocide.
Immigration is when someone marries a woman from another country,
Yeah.
and when out of 10 million people, in a country of 10 million people, they have 1,000 immigrants.
I did that. Yeah.
That's immigration. This is not immigration. This is outright invasion and colonization.
Yeah.
But Brexit was done for fear of invasion and colonization, and that this invasion and colonization would be facilitated by the European Union structure. People would be voiceless in such a big structure, only the globalists could control it. So Brexit is an important reference. He said the British people have done it, we have to do it.
Wow.
And you know what, if all these countries do it, the globalists will be fatally weakened.
Yeah.
Not destroyed, but weakened.
Yeah. They keep trying. They keep trying.
So many have written all this before. There have been nationalist groups all over who've been saying all this, but this is the first time a major figure has said it in the crowds of 20,000 and
Yeah.
25,000.
Yeah.
So let's look at the reaction to it. And I see an interesting reaction. It was my computer screen opens with msn.com,
No.
and they printed this as a news item. This came right in front, and this came today, the 14th of October. And this is an article, they've reprinted an article in the Washington Post, dated the 14th October, today, by Philip Rooker, and Sean Sullivan. The Washington Post, one of these media things that, and here I might mention that Donald Trump actually isolated all the elements of the New World Order.
Yeah.
The financial powers,
Yeah. Press.
the banks, the corrupt politicians, and the media. He clearly identified the media as a strong arm of the New World Order.
Special interest group.
So here's one of the media, which is definitely an arm or cell, if you like, of the New World Order, the Washington Post.
Yeah, definitely.
And what does it talk about? Does it repeat all this? No. It only refers to it in little segments to distort it. But its initial reaction is, Trump says groping allegations are part of a global conspiracy to help Clinton. So we are talking about historic, grand things, the subversion of nations, lasting for over 60 years and going back really to a century.
Yeah.
We're talking about the absolute replacement of white peoples throughout the West.
Yeah.
We're talking about huge economic things, but what's the headline? The headline of the article is, Trump says groping allegations are part of a global conspiracy to help Clinton. But he made it clear that Clinton's only a symptom of something very much bigger.
Yeah.
And certainly he didn't say, this speech is not about groping allegations. That came in a small part of the speech.
Gosh.
This is the way they twist things, folks.
Just like the New York Slimes.
Now, nowhere did this article mention his worldview of globalist destruction and resistance to it by the independence of states.
That's what really matters.
He talked about states regaining their sovereignty, but nowhere in this article did they say that. They left that out completely. And they kept, what did the article consist of? Having talked about groping, the title said groping allegations. 2/3 of the article is about allegations against Trump for speaking against women or groping women. These different new allegations that have surfaced magically after all these years. The speech by Michelle Obama against Trump and his groping, and the Obama's virtue posturing. That's what 2/3 of the article is. Obama is a saint who is defending the honor of women.
Nobel Peace Prize, right?
Well, here he's defending the honor of women, so why doesn't he go and defend the 20,000 women who are raped every year?
White women.
Oh, white women raped by black men,
Yeah.
black men who he champions,
Yeah.
Why doesn't he go and defend their reputation? But anyway, the article in the Washington Post is 2/3 of that there. But then the article mentions something very interesting. The article mentions that Jonathan Greenblatt, and I'm citing verbatim now, Jonathan Greenblatt, chief executive of the Anti-Defamation League, tweeted that Trump, quotes, should avoid rhetoric and tropes that historically have been used against Jews. And he should, quote, keep hate out of the campaign. Now, I'm rather puzzled by this.
What does that have to do?
I'm rather puzzled. You know what?
Yeah.
I'm puzzled because Trump never said the word Jews anywhere in his speech.
No.
I listened to the whole speech and I copied this part verbatim.
Didn't imply it either.
He didn't suggest it, he didn't imply it. So one has to ask, why would the Anti-Defamation League, a Jewish organization, say that Trump's rhetoric contained, let me use the word, tropes that historically have been used against Jews? Now that deserves a lot of analysis.
Yeah.
What is the Anti-Defamation trying to say? Well, let's leave it for another time.
Yeah.
4:30, but we should continue this.
Yeah, we have to continue this.
We have to understand what this Anti-Defamation League is trying to say. Why on earth did they bring up Jews? Why on earth did they do that? I'd like to know, wouldn't you?
No.
So let's leave it for the next segment.
Okay. And remember, buy Frank's book, Sweet Dreams and Terror Cells. It's linked before this video. Beneath this video.
If anyone wants a clear view of the thinking, the worldview, and the goals of the New World Order, read chapter 7 of my book, Sweet Dreams and Terror Cells. You can get it on Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk.
And in print now, it's a print on demand.
I recommend the paperback because the paperback is fuller and more polished.
It used to be just an ebook, now it's in paperback.
Yeah, and the most important thing here is the identity of a people, the soul of a people. Yeah. And for that, read chapters 6 and 8 of the book, which are exercises in literature. Read that, and read a good mystery. Read some entertainment.
Yeah, good
read
story.
About the struggle of Shane Douglas.
Too, yeah.
Read about the yes, it's a family story. There's not a single bit of pornography or sexuality in that book.
Decent story.
Yeah. Okay, folks, we're going to continue with this.
And Frank, thank you so much for being on the show. Second time. The first video is back in February. You've seen the Brian Rude Show. So good to have you back on, Frank, and we'll have you back on again
soon. Good to be
soon.
back, Brian.
Yeah.
We will together bring a candlelight flame.
That's right. We'll do it together.
Into a dark room.
Bring down the New World Order.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're back on the Brian Rude Show. Today is October the 16th, 2016. It's 2 days since our previous video. What's changed in the Trump campaign since that time is I no longer have a plain white shirt, which I usually do, but I have lines in my shirt now. So, Frank, let's carry on with the Trump story.
If you change from a white shirt to a lined shirt, there must be some subtle symbolism to it.
Must mean something.
Or perhaps a sinister symbolism.
Could be.
Yeah,
Who did it to me?
There's a hidden message somewhere there, for sure. So what we were talking about the last time was that after Trump gave his speech in which he directly identified, defined, and I wouldn't say attacked, but called to arms the American people against the New World Order.
Yeah.
For the first time, and this is why I say this is a very historic moment. For the first time, a major leader, not someone sitting in a basement with a computer and a keyboard.
Not just Frank and Brian.
Not just Frank and Brian. A major leader spoke in front of thousands of people and was heard by millions of people. And he posited the existence of the New World Order. He described it. He defined it.
Yeah.
And he gave a call to arms for Americans to rise up for their freedom and their independence.
It's almost too good to be true. I watched it.
Yeah, it is too good to be true, and he who fails to take advantage of it, the nationalists and the patriots who fail to take advantage of it, are idiots.
Right.
It is an asset that you shouldn't pass up. But after Trump gave his speech, there was a virulent reaction to it in some quarters. And I mentioned an article in the Washington Post, which basically poo-pooed Trump, and 2/3 of the article was actually spent on various women's allegations. This woman has come forward that Trump has groped her. The historic parts of the speech, the political parts, the important parts were more or less dismissed as vague ramblings of conspiracy theories.
Of course.
But that article did contain something interesting. It mentioned that the chief of the Anti-Defamation League, I should mention for those who are new to the topic, the Anti-Defamation League, better known as the ADL, is a Jewish advocacy organization, probably the premier, the most powerful one, with a history of making threats against people.
They're part of B'nai B'rith.
Telling them to shut up, because they've spoken out of turn on this topic or that topic. But what did the chief of the Anti-Defamation League have to say in his tweet? His name was Greenblatt, if I recall. And he said, Team Trump should avoid rhetoric and tropes that historically have been used against Jews and still spur anti-Semitism. Let's keep hate out of campaign. Well, I was rather puzzled. Now, I'm a rather slow kind of person with a slow-witted, dull kind of brain, and I have a little trouble understanding this.
Yeah, I watched the whole Trump speech. He didn't mention the Jews once.
Yeah, not once did Trump mention Jews, not once did he say Jews, not once did he hint at Jews.
That's right.
And yet, here's a guy saying these are anti-Semitic, these are things that have been used against Jews. I was puzzled, so I went around 2 malls and I interviewed people the last couple of days, and I spoke to a total of 22 people.
Wow.
Now, one man only had something different to say. He was an older man, and he told me that in the 1920s and the 1930s, people all over the Western world had accused the Jews of such globalist aims, of the destruction of nation and states, for globalized economy, a superstate, and immense profits. The accusation, or the information that these people expressed was to the effect that the Jews act on a global scale, on an international scale. They use the money of American depositors, like the farmer in Kansas puts money into a bank, or the steel worker in Pennsylvania puts money into a bank, and these banks, including most prominently a bank run by a Jacob Schiff, used this money, or channeled this money into financing the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia. Money from one part of the globe is used in another part to achieve destructive, subversive, nation-wrecking ends.
Very intelligent.
And he said that these accusations were leveled by the National Socialists of Germany, true, but actually they were leveled by persons from Britain, the US, indeed every Western country. So I looked into it. I said, okay, let me do an internet search and find out. And sure enough, I came across that was true. And in fact, Henry Ford, the founder of the Ford Motor Company, wrote a book titled The International Jew. So indeed, these accusations and such rhetoric has been expressed, and it did identify the Jews. Okay, I won't repeat the language of this tweet of Mr. Greenblatt. It was used against Jews. I'll just say that such were the allegations. Now, I also checked on Hitler, because as soon as you go into the 20s and the 30s, one comes across the dark shadow of Adolf Hitler, of the devil incarnate, the malevolent genius. Okay, and I didn't have much time, but I did manage to find something in his political testament. As armies closed upon Berlin from all sides, the American and British armies were far away, a little further away, but the Russian army was actually in Berlin. The buildings were crashing down, the dust of cement flew all over. Adolf Hitler was preparing to die, and he wrote in bad health. He'd been injured by a bomb. He'd been on heavy medication and drugs administered by a doctor named Orwell. He was in very failing health and obviously a broken man, with his life's work collapsing around him, but he managed to dictate his political testament. Among other things, he wrote, "But I left no doubt about the fact that if the peoples of Europe were again to be treated as so many packages of shares by these international money and finance conspirators, then the people who bear the real guilt for this murderous struggle, that is the Second World War, would also have to answer for it. The Jews." Now, I looked at that passage. If the peoples of Europe were again to be treated as so many packages of shares by these international money and finance conspirators, then the people who bear the real guilt for this struggle would have to answer it for the Jews. Now, what do we see here? Again, I suppose he means again after the collapse of the National Socialist state. Again after, I suppose, Eastern Europe was relatively free of the international money and finance conspirators. I suppose that's what Adolf Hitler was trying to say.
Yeah.
So what do we see here? Money masters on an international and global scale, acting on a global scale with shares on international stock exchanges, such as the one on Wall Street, treating humans not as humans, but as pawns with which to make profits. Indeed, as Trump was speaking, WikiLeaks revealed that Hillary Clinton was taking speech money, taking money in the name of making speeches, from Wall Street, and promising Wall Street executives and what shall we say, warlords?
Yeah, good word.
Warlords, or shall we say
Oligarchs.
Oligarchs. She was promising them that she would ease government oversight on their crimes and irregularities and let them regulate themselves.
What a crook.
Who better would be able to regulate and monitor Wall Street than the Wall Street boys themselves?
Yeah, with Hillary Clinton.
Okay, who better could? So basically she was promising them that government won't touch you, you can do what you like. That was happening that was revealed even as Trump was speaking.
Wow.
But to return to the dying words of Hitler, they were little different from those of Trump, as Trump thundered against the destruction of states and nations by global special interests, raiding the wealth of America and shipping out the jobs of Americans to other parts of the globe for their profit. Packages of shares, just used for profit. Okay? Now, is that why the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, sees tropes that have been used against Jews in the past? Well, I must say I couldn't quite understand the whole issue.
Yeah.
So, for one thing, we live in the year 2016, some 70 years later, and we are told that Hitler was a madman.
Mm-hmm.
Moreover, I kept on asking people that I could ambush in the food fair of malls.
Very good.
And I asked some 21 people more. One man, actually the first, I already mentioned one man, I asked another 21 people. And they had never heard of any tropes, of any allegations that have ever been used against Jews. And they have never heard of any claims or accusations that were anti-Semitic. These are ordinary common people, young and old, and so I've never heard anything against Jews or anti-Semitic. Some of them said the opposite. I see on the Hollywood movies that they're angels.
Yeah.
So what the hell is this Jonathan Greenblatt yapping about?
Yeah. Puzzling.
Okay? You know, I have never heard myself, in my whole life in contact with the West and the last 22 years living in the West, I have never heard on any radio station or television station a single thing against the Jews. I've certainly not heard that they're globalist conspirators, masters of finance, or wreckers of races, nations, and states. I haven't. So what is this?
Neither, not in the media.
Yeah, so what is this ADL chief warning about?
What's he referring to?
And why is he telling Trump that he'd better speak in this way and not that way? That he should avoid these
tropes.
Yeah. Why do they look at the speech of Trump and assume that he's talking about them?
Yeah.
You know, I just don't get it.
Yeah.
Beyond me, but... So one person that I interviewed actually said that the ADL must feel that the Jews have done these globalist crimes in the past and are still committing them. That is why the ADL assumed that Trump is talking about them and is telling him to shut up. Hey, don't reveal our crimes. That's what one guy said.
Really? In the mall, someone said that to you.
Oh yeah, this is a a guy who watches the news, I thought, very sharp kind of gentleman. He said that it seems, looking at this tweet, which I had printed out and was showing these people, he said it seems the ADL has deployed the most venomous weapon in its armory, the charge of anti-Semitism. Basically, the ADL are issuing a warning to Trump that they will destroy him unless he shuts up about globalist masters of finance, people who want to abolish borders, dissolve, or liquidate states and nations. Yeah. So that's what this one man out of all these said that. Now, I was myself a little puzzled. I thought Armenians don't assume that Trump is talking about them.
That's right.
Vietnamese don't say, hey, you're using tropes that are obviously aimed at us. Presbyterians aren't jumping about and saying, hey, Trump is whipping up hate against us.
Neither the Irish.
Neither are the Catholics.
Yeah.
So of the Irish, we immediately go to Catholics.
Yeah.
Are the Catholics saying that we are globalist masters of finance and Trump is accusing us of raiding nations, destroying their borders, destroying their identity? Nope. Is he saying that we as Catholics own the media? They're not jumping to it, so why is the ADL jumping to it and saying that he must be talking about Jews?
Good question.
Something here I don't understand. Now, if I were to say that Jews are behind the mastery of international finance, they control the media, and they have destroyed the nations and states of the Western world, I think Trump mentioned European nations that have been destroyed.
Yeah.
Then, if I said such a thing, the ADL and other organizations would charge me as an anti-Semite. But on the contrary, it seems that the ADL itself thinks that Jews are doing all these things. And so when Trump speaks of the globalists, they jump to assume that he's speaking about Jews. In short, the ADL chief is an anti-Semite.
Holy smokes.
He must be.
Yeah, why would he bring it up?
Why is he assuming that he's talking about them? He is an anti-Semite, this fellow, this Jonathan Greenblatt. Shame on him.
This is very self-conscious.
Shame on him. Shame on this man.
Yes.
He's full of hate.
Against the Jews, and he's drawing attention to this.
Well, like I said, there's something here I just don't understand. Trump speaks of international bankers and the liquidation of nations and states, and various people assume he's speaking of the Jews, but he never mentioned Jews.
Well, the Rockefellers are bankers, they're not Jewish.
I don't know if they are. I don't know anything about their vast holdings. I thought they were into oil.
Into oil, yeah.
Or maybe the Citibank was there. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the Rockefellers are bankers as well.
Maybe I'm just stupid when I say this because it's not just the ADL chief. I looked around and there's an article in Salon.com.
Today?
Yes. As a matter of fact, on the 14th October, sorry.
2 days ago.
2 days ago. Salon.com by one Gary Legum. What a name. Gary Legum. Legum.
Maybe he's got a leg up.
Oh, it should be leg up. He could give me a leg up. I could do with the leg up financially. Anyway.
Buy his book.
What is Gary Legum's article? It's titled Trump's Thinly Vintage Anti-Semitism and Outrageous Fortune.
Oh.
Thinly vintage, I think he means thinly disguised.
Yeah.
I suppose. But that's the title. I got to read the title the way it is.
Yeah.
Trump's Thinly Vintage Anti-Semitism and Outrageous Fortune. There you go again. On other lines, he says, international banks. That's not an anti-Semitism dog whistle. That's a sonic boom.
Oh.
Now, a dog whistle is being used by the media quite a lot.
Yeah.
Dogs can hear at higher frequencies. So you give a dog whistle, you know that the dog will hear it, the person you want to, and other people won't. So the idea is Trump is giving a message to all the hateful people, the racists, the xenophobes, the white nationalists. He's giving a message to them, and he knows they will understand what he's talking about.
Dog whistle.
But other people won't understand. The housewife,
the good people,
making grits down in the southern states won't know it. But the bad people will know exactly what he's talking about. He's talking about the Jews. But he's saying, but that's no dog whistle. It's so loud and so clear and so penetrating. It's a sonic boom. So, what does this Gary Legum have to say? That he defines Trumpism at the end of his article.
Is he referring to the speech that
yes.
just made that night?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's referring to the very
speech.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's referring to that very speech.
October 14. Palm Beach speech, right?
We were discussing the speech that was done in West Palm Beach, Florida, and Donald Trump's detailed statement about the New World Order. And among other reactions, there was this article in Salon.com by Gary Legum.
Yeah.
Well, why not just legume? Then we could have some vegetables to eat once in a while.
That's right, might be more useful.
No, why don't we just add an E to it?
Make me hungry.
Yeah, well, he's giving us plenty of food for thought. He may not be giving us vegetables, maybe not legumes, but he's giving us food for thought. What does this fellow have to say, Gary Legum, in his article, dated the 14th October? He says, he defines Trumpism, as he calls it.
Oh, Trumpism.
And how does he define it? The toxic mixture of xenophobia, anti-Semitism, and paranoia that is Trumpism.
I thought Trump's daughter was Jewish. He married a Jewish man.
Well, who knows? See, they still say it's all these things, but note these things: xenophobia, anti-Semitism, paranoia. If you think about it, when you say something's a phobia, it's some kind of a dysfunction, a disease.
Yeah, a problem.
A problematic condition, a pathology.
Yeah.
So that's why when you call someone a xenophobe, it's like calling him a hydrophobe. Or it's like agoraphobia or claustrophobia.
Yeah.
It's a condition normal people don't have. It's a handicap. It's some kind of a sickness.
Yeah.
So the xenophobia is a sickness. Anti-Semitism is the next thing he goes on. Well, anti-Semitism is a pathological hatred of Jews, an irrational and pathological hatred.
It's a pathology.
Yeah. And then the paranoia. Well, I don't have to say anything about paranoia. That's a pathology.
Yeah.
It's a mental disease, a dysfunction, an abnormality. So Trumpism is a collection of these mental sicknesses and delusions. And common Americans, well, I was watching a movie the other day called Pretty in Pink.
I've seen it.
Acting
Molly Ringwald. Right?
Molly Ringwald was the actress.
Real kitty.
And they were showing the high school prom. All these nice, good-looking
16-year-old girls.
All white boys and girls dancing, having a good time.
Yeah.
And any American who would want that, who would want to be among his own people, European Americans, and who feels a little uncomfortable, or who prefers that, people of a community of soul and heart, who prefers that and doesn't want Eritreans and Somalis and Vietnamese in there, he's suffering from all kinds of phobias and paranoias.
No, I think that's normal. It's not a phobia.
Well, that's what it's saying. It's all phobic.
Yeah.
It's all phobias, no? But if you think about it, here's a man who's saying Trump never once mentioned the Jews, and he jumps to say that he's talking about us.
Wow.
Now tell me, who is suffering from paranoia?
I think perhaps this Jewish fellow is.
Well, I don't know if he's Jewish or not. His name is Gary Legum.
Wow.
I prefer legume.
Yeah.
But it looks to me like
He
he's accusing all these Trump supporters of being xenophobe, of suffering from xenophobia, pathological anti-Semitism, paranoia, it looks to me like he's the paranoid guy.
Yeah, what's he afraid of?
Well, why does he assume that Trump is talking about him?
Yeah.
Not him, about Jews.
Yeah.
He's paranoid. Paranoid delusions, I tell you. Paranoid delusions.
Needs
That's all
help.
it is.
Needs help.
I think, Brian, you should step forward and volunteer services.
Yeah, he needs some meditation help to dissolve that thought pattern.
You're a Buddhist.
That's right.
Buddhist peace, tranquility.
Love
That's
and
what this man Gary Legum needs. I will email him tomorrow.
Sure, please do.
You know, you're suffering from obvious paranoid delusions or feelings of being persecuted. Terrible, terrible. But I'll digress for a moment. I'll just digress for a moment and talk about this word xenophobia.
Yeah.
Now, a phobia, as I said, is a mental condition, and if someone wants to keep his country, if someone doesn't want to be invaded, colonized, dispossessed, thrown out of his own country, minoritized, genocided, as whites are definitely under a process of genocide, you know, every Hollywood movies seem to subliminally and not so subliminally suggest that every white woman should marry a black man. That's a process of genocide. Soon there'll be no white children. Now, point is that if you call someone a xenophobe, or to accuse them of xenophobe, you're accusing them of a mental sickness.
But it's normal to react that way.
But what about the other side? xenophilia, the
Yeah.
worship of everything foreign. That if we don't have a bunch of foreign people, we are somehow
Boring.
lacking in,
Yeah.
we are culturally impoverished. We need enrichment.
Yeah.
Xenophilia is the worship of all things foreign, alien. But I prefer a better word. These people who can't seem to have any pride in themselves, who can't, in their own people, who have this pathological need to have foreigners and multiculturalism and diversity, and say we are so culturally deficient that we need impoverishment, these people are xeno-bumsuckers.
Bumsuckers.
So the next time, I suggest that next time somebody accuses you of being a xenophobe, you immediately say, and you're a xeno-bumsucker. Go lick some bum.
Is that the same as xenophile?
Well, a xenophile is just someone
Who
who's
wants-
all for it, who wants it. But a xeno-bumsucker describes it better.
Going too far.
They are grovelers. They lack pride.
Ah.
They're ready to go down on their knees.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's without belaboring the point. Just call them. If someone calls you a xenophobe, just call him a xeno-bumsucker.
You heard it, folks.
Okay. Now,
Right.
all right. So I said that I'm a rather slow and dull-witted person. I don't understand the thinking of this ADL chief and this Gary Legum. I do know one thing. The Salon article laughed and mocked Trump for saying, the Salon article mocked and satirized Trump for saying, Hillary Clinton meets in secret with international banks to plot the destruction of US sovereignty in order to enrich these global financial powers, her special interest friends and their donors. So they say he's a paranoid idiot. But having said that, they omit one little truth.
Yeah.
And the little truth is that it's documented. WikiLeaks has revealed it, and it's not denied by Hillary Clinton or
her meeting.
henchmen.
Yeah.
They don't deny it. They imply that Trump is a paranoid, delusional fantasist
Xenophobe.
for having said this. But the one thing they don't mention in this Salon article, and I'm pretty sure it's not mentioned in the Washington Post article, Hillary Clinton has met in secret with international bankers
Yes.
and pledged to have an open borders and open trade zone for the whole of the Western Hemisphere.
Which means no country.
She has done so. And the Trump speech specifically mentioned the WikiLeaks documents, which means it is documented.
Yes.
So, you can't trust these Washington Post people and these legumes that seem to
Yeah.
have sprouted sort of fingers that write.
It's like ad hominem attacks.
These legumes seem to be sprouting in all directions with fingers that go onto keyboards and lie by omission.
Yeah.
Terrible. Yeah. So here I'll mention that Trump's verbalizations on the matter of the globalists who are destroying nations and states and nation states and are dispossessing peoples.
Yeah.
It's not just one or two speeches. I read extracts from two speeches.
Yeah.
But I'll mention that on the 10th of October in Ambridge, Pennsylvania, Trump said, talking about this election, this is like Brexit. We want our independence back. We want our borders strong. We don't want people coming in from Syria. We don't know who the hell they are. Now, obviously you and I know that the New World Order wants these terrorists,
Yeah.
wants these aliens, among them
We know
terrorists,
that.
to create chaos and justify a police state. And then he goes on to say she has hatred in her heart. She wants to divide us. I want to bring us together as one
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Now, I think the only way that could happen is if America becomes has a significant majority of one race and ethnicity, then it has an identity and they are effectively can function as a state, as one people.
Yeah.
It did so in the 60s and 70s when white Americans were 90% of the population.
Yeah.
But the point is, he said, this is like Brexit, we want our independence back.
Wow.
Now, he has correctly tied the struggle of the US and the plight of the US with the plight of the whole Western world.
Yeah.
And in the entire Western world, only one country has escaped the superstate trap, with the Britain escaping from the European Union by doing Brexit.
Yeah.
And he gave the right word there, independence.
Yeah.
The United States is not independent. He's saying that as clearly as possible.
Yeah.
It is a province under the globalist
Yeah.
rulers and their empire.
Globalism.
And their empire. And that empire you and I have been calling Oceania.
Yeah.
The entire white world that is now turning brown and black is the Oceania, and all these countries, Sweden, Britain, France, are provinces in it.
Yeah.
They have no identity of their own, nothing distinct, and they certainly don't have independence.
Yeah. Like
So
Canada.
Trump is quite right in saying the Brexit struggle of a fellow European country is just like the struggle of the United States. So that's certainly, there's no doubt that the Trump movement has a patriotic, nationalistic, state independence core to it, and that it is correctly, that it has explicitly dared to identify the sneak rulers and their globalist ambitions, their ambition to destroy, to liquidate the United States, among other countries. They're going to liquidate all these countries. And to genocide, he has never said the word genocide. Trump hasn't, but he has implied it. And his followers know exactly what he's up to.
Yeah. We know.
Yeah. So, having said all that, I'll go back to some of the points that we discussed earlier. I've been watching the CNN and MSNBC in the last couple of days, since the second debate, so now 4 days now.
Yeah.
And after this speech in West Palm Beach. And you know what? At CNN, they're still at it. They still talk about Trump's women, who he's been groping, who has accused him of groping, the dignity of women, that Trump, how can you possibly have a man like that at the helm of state? That's all they talk about. They're not talking about the issues, they're not talking about the jobs that have
fled the country,
that Americans have been done out of. They're not talking about the $19 trillion deficit, which is a direct result of Americans not making their own goods.
So it's a character attack.
So they're relying totally on distraction, on cheapness, on gulling people. So I think to myself, here are these mainly women, but also men at CNN and MSNBC, talk about the character, and mainly they say, what are we going to tell our children? Do we tell our children that this is the norm, that men can treat women as objects? Well,
bigger
I
issues.
would like to remind them that the President of the United States does not set morality, the families do. It is the mom and dad at the dinner table, or at the breakfast table, that teach their children morals. They don't say, hey, look to the President and take your example from him.
Of course, good point.
Yeah, and they also learn it from their schools and their teachers. But if these people at CNN, like the media, I've called her a whore, I'll call her a whore again, Carol Costello, and all these other whores, minor and major, who have been hanging around the newsrooms of these subversive television channels, why, if they're so concerned about the morality that their children are absorbing, about the attitudes to women, the objectification, why don't they make a riot at the grocery stores like Safeway and IG or whatever stores they go to? Because I walked into my grocery store yesterday, and there I saw Cosmopolitan magazine, a magazine which on its cover routinely says how to bring your man to an ecstatic orgasm.
Yeah, you see that. Sex.
Another erogenous zone. Stuff like that. How you can have a better sex life.
Yeah.
So why don't they riot and close down the, demand the closure of these stores until these magazines are removed? What about the internet porn that any child of any age can access with a flick of a key, with a keystroke.
What difference does it make how the president behaves? So many influences.
If they say that they don't want the objectification of women, if they don't want, why don't they sort of look into the internet and say, hey, wait a minute, there's millions of porn sites, and they all treat women as sluts, don't they?
No, just recently on YouTube last month or two, they have these soft porn videos from the 60s and 70s, 80s on YouTube, with toplessness on YouTube just recently.
Yep, on YouTube.
Why do they complain about that?
So obviously they don't do it, so they're not really concerned about the imprinting of values upon their children. This is just plain hogwash. But someone ought to call them on it and call CNN and say, hey, since when did you agitate for a boycott of Cosmopolitan magazine?
Since when do they care? Yeah.
Well, when did you call for technology that would block the internet porn for children?
Like they're part of the problem.
Yeah. So, we also talked about something Trump said about Hillary Clinton and her hatred. She has a lot of hatred in her heart.
Yeah.
Now, he can't say too much about it, but she does have hatred in her heart because she's like a lot of people who were influenced by the 60s and the counterculture. The counterculture was a propaganda and cultural and brainwashing or brain contamination movement against white people to teach them to first distrust their government, leveraging the Vietnam War, and then to distrust their society, then to distrust their parents. Don't trust anyone over 30.
I remember as a teenager, I felt it's my obligation not to trust my parents.
Yeah, and then it went on to create a hatred of their own race. And Hillary Clinton was very much a part of that. For example, she was a disciple of Saul Alinsky. Saul, S-A-U-L, Alinsky, A-L-I-N-S-K-Y. He was one of the minor figures of the sneak rulers. He was a genocide of the white race. He created a book on how to subvert society and break it down. Now, she's a follower of him. And in fact, I believe she wrote a thesis in adoring admiration of Saul Alinsky. And all these people, they follow the lead of the sneak rulers. The sneak rulers don't want to work honestly. Now, the great thing about Caucasian societies is that they believe in direct hard work.
Thank you, Frank.
Work that puts food on the table, put meat and potatoes on the table, work that makes houses. And that is why these countries have built wonderful civilizations. I'm not saying other people don't work, but the instinct of the Caucasian is direct, productive work, not bullshit. Now,
hey, what about YouTube talk shows? Sorry.
Well, some of us have to do it to defend
That's right.
that society and those values.
Yeah.
Now, that's why Germany, for example, has always been successful. It got defeated in the First World War. It got plunged into a Bolshevik revolution for years after that.
Yeah.
But once they got down to work and removed a lot of the destructive forces from the banks, from the foreign currency system, quickly built a society. They got smashed again. Smashed to smithereens in the Second World War. But in 10-15 years, they were once again a prosperous society.
Look at them today,
Because they believed in work, the work ethic, and directly producing. The sneak rulers don't believe in it. They believe in manipulation, stock manipulations, derivatives, just playing the stock exchange, futures market, gambling. And they despise the white masses. They despise them for being stupid schmucks who work hard all their lives. They think that we are so smart, we manipulate, we trick, we play games. We don't do anything productive, and look how better we are. And they bred in people like Hillary Clinton the same attitude, to despise the hardworking, dutiful people who had a sense of honesty, patriotism, of hard work, to despise them. And Hillary Clinton did. And how do we know this? She disdained white America and the white work ethic. She called her secret agents paid personal pigs. Here are the Secret Service people protecting her, and she despises them because they get a salary. They don't lie and manipulate and cheat and play games, and they work hard and they have a sense of duty and integrity. If a bullet were to fly at her, they would jump in front of her to save her because that's their role. That's the role they pledge themselves to.
Yeah.
Like the soldier who will dive under a tank and blow himself up because he's pledged to protect his people.
Yeah.
But Hillary Clinton despised that whole attitude, and she referred to her Secret Service guards as paid personal pigs. Now, there was a Secret Service man called Gary Aldrich, Aldrich, and he wrote a book called Unlimited Access. And he recalled that while Hillary Clinton was in the White House, she showed her hatred of American white culture and decent values and middle class values. For example, she put a huge ebonite statue that everyone called Big Bertha. It was a twice human size of a woman, completely naked, with oversized backside, oversized buttocks.
A black statue?
Ebonite, made of ebonite.
Yeah, dark.
And they called it Big Bertha because the buttocks were so huge. And she put it in among the lineup of other artistic exhibits.
At the
White House.
The White House?
Yeah, where children go on tours. She hung the Christmas tree is actually not just a Christian symbol. It is an ancient European symbol. The Christmas tree is a pagan, an ancient European symbol. It is a miniature Yggdrasil, Yggdrasil being the tree of life. It has great significance and has done so for millennia.
Yeah.
And she hung the Christmas tree with condoms.
Ooh.
The White House Christmas tree, the national Christmas tree. Condoms and paraphernalia for smoking crack cocaine. Other such disgusting things. I really don't want to go into the details, but there was, for example, a ceramic display of, the poem that on my first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 5 turtle doves. Well, for her case, the doves were fornicating, I believe. That's what Gary Aldrich wrote. And 12 lords are leaping. Each of the lords had a massive erect penis. Where she got these from, I don't know. But Gary Aldrich worked there, and he claims that these were the things that she did.
Wow.
That is how she desecrated the White House. Kind of reminds me of this fellow called Abbie Hoffman. Abbie Hoffman,
yeah, I remember him.
Was
and Jerry
probably
Rubin.
the main Abbie Hoffman, Jerry Rubin, and Mark Rudd.
60s, yeah.
These were the counterculture leaders who led the movement that destroyed the culture and identity of America so decisively. This Abbie Hoffman said, "We will take down the crucifix and the pictures of Christ from the living room wall." Well, he kind of reminds me of the Bolsheviks who dynamited the churches of Russia. Because the church and the Christian religion give people a sense of decency, of values, of honesty, of keeping your word, of not betraying each other and turning on each other. And they were also the guardians and repositories of culture. Just look at any church. There's a lot of sculpture, architecture, stained glass paintings there. That was what they had against it, and Abbie Hoffman followed in the footsteps of the Bolsheviks. He didn't have the power to dynamite a church, but he said, "We will tear the pictures of Christ from the living room wall." And basically turning white people into proles.
But he ended up committing suicide, Abbie Hoffman.
Well, you know about that, Brian? I don't.
Yeah.
But did Abbie Hoffman ever say that we will take down the Islamic symbols, like the picture of the Kaaba, the black stone of Mecca? Did he say we'll take down the menorah from the living room wall, the menorah that Jews have? No. It was just white Christians. Just the symbols of European people. So, now, before we finish, I'd like to address something. There are a lot of patriots and white nationalists who are very cynical about any movement because they've seen the Tea Party taken over by sneak ruler manipulation.
Yeah.
Every time there's a grassroots movement rising, people infiltrate it, the enemy infiltrates it, takes it over, and it fizzles out and fails. So they see the Trump phenomenon and they say, oh well, what's the point?
Yeah.
In fact, after 60 years of nothing working, they've come to the point of saying nothing is going to work. It's just inevitable, let's just lie back and accept defeat. Don't get excited about anything, nothing's going to work. We're just going to be slowly genocided out. We're going to be colonized to death and we're going to vanish.
Despair.
Let's just sit home. Let's sit in our basements. You know, if anyone suggests that this might be a step we could take, oh, don't bother with it. Now, I can understand that after years of repeated disappointments, they'll think like that. But they have to really understand that this is an existential struggle in its final phase. They should take advantage of every lever, every opportunity, every means. And they've never had a means like this. Donald Trump is not perfect. If he becomes president, he'll certainly be under great pressure from the sneak rulers and the globalists. But he's the best thing they've got. For the first time, the mass of people, the American people, are hearing someone say that the media is in the control of an enemy force.
Good. Good.
For the first time. Up to now, people were saying it in little websites here and there,
Yeah.
in little pockets, but the mass of people never heard it. For the first time, a major figure is saying the media is an arm of the rulers and they are against you. They are the enemy. For the first time, someone is talking about lies. In his speech in West Palm Beach, Trump said they will lie, lie, and lie.
Yeah.
Now, the lie is the chief instrument of the sneak rulers. And for the first time, a major figure is saying that most of what you've heard all your lives are lies. The sneak rulers depend on lying, don't trust them. For the first time, a national figure has said, and is reported on many channels, maybe not on CNN or MSNBC or NBC, but is reported on many channels, at least parts of his speeches. For the first time, someone has put it all together and said, it is these masters of the banks, the financial companies, Wall Street, and they control the media. And with all that power, they've got a bunch of groveling politicians who get a few crumbs from their table. He's put it together and he's said that the superstate trading blocs like NAFTA and the European Union, which was a trading bloc but magically transformed into a
10 seconds
political
left.
union. Okay, we'll wait. 10 seconds, we'll
Carry
wait.
on.
So as I said, this is like a dream come true, that a national figure has actually delineated and identified the new world order. It's put its elements together, the banks, the Wall Street and the stock exchanges, the fact that they, with that power, can own the media, and the media lies, and that they have all these politicians who are beholden to them, and that's why he rejected the traditional elites of the Republican Party,
Yeah.
and said that no, I'm not leading a party, I'm leading a movement. These are things patriots could only dream about. But now that you have them, why don't you leverage that as far as possible?
Yeah.
Don't be so jaded and say nothing ever works, so nothing will. Well, nothing ever will if you don't get up off your backsides and do something. When did you have a better opportunity?
We even see that in the comments to this YouTube video series, the previous comments of the previous series.
The media of the masters has been lying to the people since before World War II. But we never heard that they were lying on the average 50-year-old, 40-year-old man or woman would say you were a conspiracy nut if you said they've been lying to you.
Yeah.
But now a major figure is saying it.
Yeah.
And he said, and now all America knows it. That alone is an enduring achievement.
Yes.
And I believe that Donald Trump probably will not win this election, but the movement that he has founded, it is put together all these disparate dissidents, but also brought in a lot of people who are disappointed by the Tea Party, who were disappointed by the attempts of Ron Paul, failure of Ron Paul, and brought in so many people who were never involved.
Yeah.
I don't think that movement will die, and I think it will be able to put pressure on the New World Order, represented by, in this country, in the United States, by Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
So a good showing in the polls will go a long way to making that movement live.
Yeah.
I would urge you that don't squander this opportunity. It doesn't come twice in a lifetime. It's a bend in the road, which could be fatal. Make sure that it's not fatal, but rather an opportunity for resistance to rise up, for decent people to assert their strength and to bring decency back. Because the alternative is really quite terrible. If Hillary Clinton wins with a sizable majority, you can be sure that with the sneak rulers will use that and leverage that to open the borders and the immigration systems absolutely completely, and have whatever protections there are for industry will be completely removed. And above all, they will criminalize not only guns, but they will criminalize any attempt to say we have an identity, we are a people, we're being colonized. The First Amendment will be ripped into shreds in order to do that. So I won't belabor the point. I'll just say I believe this is the first time a major figure has identified the New World Order and its destructiveness. Let's take advantage of it. Let's put aside our cynicism and jaded weariness for a few days.
Yeah.
3 weeks left.
Yeah, to November 8th.
Yeah. And have a good showing and a strong showing in these polls, in this election. It'll be the seed of a renaissance.
Yeah, we have to keep moving forward, win or lose, keep moving forward with the movement. Yeah.
Thank you, folks. I've yapped enough.
Well, thank you very much, Frank. A very articulate, moving speech, and I'm very honored to have you on the show. Honored intellect to have on the Brian Roux Show. Thank you, Frank.
Honored to be on the Brian Roux Show. Yeah.
Okay.
And honored to speak to your audience. They're great people, all of them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.